Alrighty, guys. So this is the next vertical. This is a basic distributor, right? I mean, obviously, whenever you have a warehouse, you're doing distribution. So this is a generic distributor. If you are a warehouse manager for a generic distributor and you want to know how to add, load proof to your supply chain, how to, get value out of it, what type of problem to solve, what type of, we are going to talk about the vertical itself and then challenges and, how you solve it, right? So this is you are a, warehouse manager for a general, pretty generic distributor. You could distribute, anything from, apparel to, hardware to pretty much anything. I mean, industrial goods, we got, customers like, global industrial, those guys distribute all, warehouse supplies. DSW distribution, they're another more, pharmaceutical little bit, and they fall into the general distributor category. Titan distributors, SDA technology, they distribute a lot of those electronic radios and timepieces and things like that. Milton Distributing Company, another distributor. So your role is a distributor warehouse manager. You are a warehouse director for a distributor, or you are a vice president operations for a distributor, or you could be a network manager for a distributor managing a bunch of facilities. You could be an industrial engineer, or you could be a continuous improvement engineer, or it could be a continuous improvement manager, right? So your business is about distributing products, right? You buy products from name brands and manufacturers and ship them to customers that come to you. You carry products from many different brands, right? It could be, many brands you carry, or mostly ship industrial products or consumer products. You could even buy products, electronics, hardware, apparel products from countries like China, Taiwan, India, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, right? All those places and ship to your customers, right? Your customers could be retailers too, and your customers could also be mom and pop shops, and you ship both parcel and LTL. Your customers often complain saying that the products that you shipped arrive completely crushed, almost like a pancake. That was one of the problems that our customers' global distribution had, and they fixed it by using LoadProof, right? As a warehouse manager, right? Obviously, you have your regular duties as a warehouse manager. All that is there as well. So, the manager leads and coordinates all aspects of the distribution process within the supply chain network, leads site planning, execution, and communication of all daily clerical and operational processes, including labor planning, driver management, OSHA, FDA, DOT, Department of Transportation, compliance, general administrative duties. So you have all these challenges, right? You got to, make sure good employees are hired, payroll is processed, customer service responsibilities, any customer service questions you got to, answer. Human resources administration, product functionality checks and cleaning if needed, warehousing functions, making sure the warehouse runs, the system, all the systems are in place, all the processes are in place, servant leadership, inspiring people, load planning, routing, carrier management, etc. And collection and reporting of the KPI data, key performance indicators that measure how well you're running the facility and so forth, right? And sometimes response for the P&L of the site as well. So you could specialize in many products. Some of them are handling food grade products. That's the FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, FDA, DEA regulated. Just keep in mind, if you're shipping products that require FDA approval, you have to maintain all the documentation for up to 12 years, or 3 years to, or 7 years, or 12 years. And we have a customer that does exactly that. Offering value added services, that might be another revenue generation opportunity for you, right? Price ticketing, assembly, special packaging, gift orders, e-commerce fulfillment, and so forth, right? The gift orders are very special because you have to, wow the customer, right? That's, more, consumer. If you ship to, but here we are talking mostly industrial distribution, more, shipping to another wholesaler, or a not so much of a e-commerce, right? So your supply chain community consists of all these people, manufacturers that manufacture products, carriers, trucking companies, ocean carriers, rail carriers, air carriers, multimodal, third-party logistics service providers, vendors that you buy your products from, cross-dock facility operators, consolidation facility operators, LTL terminals, parcel carriers, right? Delivery companies, freight forwarders, freight brokers, right? It's very important to keep in mind that you work with all these people on a regular basis, so build and maintain professional relationships, right? While shipping products, moving products, mistakes do happen. Sometimes it's theirs, sometimes it's yours. Whatever it is, work with your partners in a calm and balanced manner, in a fair manner. So that's where keeping the proof in LoadProof to demonstrate that you did your job right helps a lot, right? So you can have a professional conversation and articulate your position in a professional way, right? It's okay to, say in a very professional, gentle manner, hey, it's not fair for us to pay for mistakes that is not ours, right? Here is a proof in the form of pictures, and this is what Greg Wills talks about in his video before, the customers would complain saying that they do. I mean, sometimes the boxes they ship would literally get crushed and arrive like pancakes, and the customers would call, and these guys, that's where the pictures are very, very helpful. They'll just take, oh no, that's not how it shipped. Look at this. Pictures, and they go back to the freight company, or they go back to the carrier, or sometimes if the customer's carrier, they go back to the customer and say, hey, your carrier messed up, we did everything right. So that's the biggest benefit. And while working with all these people, do not burn bridges, right? Everybody's working very hard to make it for themselves. So keep in mind that people change very, very fast in these organizations. So you want to build and maintain professional relationships. When you're working with such a community of supply chain providers, right? Having LoadProof and pictures to prove that you did your job right gives you a solid ground to stand on when something happens to your shipment, right? So what are your challenges, right? You are losing money on retail chargebacks when you ship to retailers, right? You're losing money due to freight claims. You're losing money on damages, right? Your customers are submitting damage claims to you. You're losing money on rejected loads. You want to keep that money in your pockets or in customer pockets, right? You want to pass on the savings to them. So you started taking photos in your digital camera, which is a very cumbersome process. You got to constantly, take the memory card, go to the, computer, copy, and then come back. So that's a lot of back and forth walking. Or your people are using their own personal smartphones and taking pictures, but after like a month or so, or 3 months or 6 months or so, when the claims come back, you don't know who took the pictures, right? There are always, Jose, Michael, John, you don't know who took the pictures. You don't know where the pictures are. And even if you find the pictures, you don't know what picture is for what, right? So, some people have this Google Drive, shared folder. They are organizing all these pictures there, but the problem is that it's just a lot of manual work. And I've heard stories where the executive assistants and also clerical people that spend days. I mean, they're like spend all day organizing those pictures, right? And there is no way to go back and find the exact picture that is relevant for that conversation, relevant for that claim, relevant for that whatever issue that you're trying to solve, right? So those are the challenges, and so here let's talk dig a little bit deeper on all these chargebacks, right? We talked about retail chargeback, freight claims, and then damage claims, and then rejected load. So those are the and then I mean there are some in the food we often see the overages, shortages, and damages as well, right? So what is a retail chargeback, right? You're shipping to a retailer. The retailer is either issuing a chargeback or automatically deducting your invoice because they're citing non-compliance or damages, right? If you have a genuine non-compliance issue based on the retailer's routing guide, then you have to make sure that non-compliance issue is fixed first, right? If you're still getting chargebacks and the reasons that you're getting from the retailer doesn't make sense, then you have to have a conversation with the retailer. So you want to have a conversation with the retailer. It's not always easy because they are so big, right? You cannot get their attention so easily. So you start with the pictures of the product you ship. Using LoadProof, you can start taking pictures of the products you ship that demonstrate the condition of the product you're shipping, right? When you get a chargeback, you can share those pictures and demonstrate to them saying that the condition was perfectly fine when the product left your facility, right? So typically you'll have to submit the pictures through their portal. And with LoadProof, you can do that very easily with all the pictures you've taken. All you have to do is generate that only one PDF, right? There are 10 pictures. You don't have to do this 10 times. You just generate one PDF with all the 10 pictures in place and then upload that to their supplier portal, right? Into the the retailer provider supplier portal and start the conversation, right? Often there are two scenarios at play here. The first scenario is the retailer paying for transportation, right? Which is what happens most often. And the second scenario is you paid for transportation, right? Scenario one is the retailer often pays for transportation because they can take advantage of their economies of scale and get a better deal from the transportation company or carrier, right? The problem is because you don't have a contract with the carrier, you cannot directly file a claim with the carrier. So you'll have to talk to the retailer and prove it to them that it's not your mistake. Sometimes even the insurance companies are involved because the carrier might insure the move, right? then insurance companies will ask for pictures. So if you have LoadProof, it's even easier to provide the pictures to the insurance companies. It's not always easy to get the retailer to look into this right away, but work with them. Keep pushing back, right? You might not succeed in the first attempt, but eventually you will succeed, right? Scenario two is, you paid the carrier directly, so you can file a claim directly with the carrier and get your damage reimbursed. Also, often retail chargebacks come with automatic deductions, right? Which means your accounts receivable team is going to see that first. Then they'll call you, the warehouse manager, next to see if you have any proof to show that the warehouse team shipped the product in good condition without any of those damages cited by the retail customer. That's when you can show LoadProof and the pictures you took while shipping that shipment. You can also set up your AR people as users in LoadProof, right? So that they can log into LoadProof directly and retrieve the pictures without even calling you. And you can also set up anybody else that requires access to these pictures to show that your warehouse team did a great job. So everyone can push back and say, hey, we did our job right, so it's not fair for us to pay for these issues, right? Always keep in mind, supply chain is a small community of people, so you're going to see these people again and again, and they all make moves and take up different roles in the same industry. So you'll see them again and again. All you have to do is go to a trade show, you'll see them. So it's important to maintain the relationships, don't burn bridges, and sometimes you might be surprised they might be on the opposite side in a different role, and that might not be a good thing for you, right? So that's why it's important to build and maintain that relationship, and have them, in a good situation, so you can work with them whichever role they end up in, right? Overall, right? So always keep in mind while working with these people in supply chain, overall your journey within the supply chain industry is not a sprint, but it's a marathon, right? So having said that, what is a freight claim? So you shipped your product through a carrier to your customer. The carrier failed to deliver the product in a perfect manner. It was not delivered in the same condition as it left your facility. And often the carriers, insure these transportation moves as well. Right? If there is a problem, or if there is an act of God, for example, thunderstorm or a tornado or any natural disaster that damaged your shipment, you can file a claim to the carrier and then get compensated, right? We are actually partnered with Mercury Gate MyEasy Claims. So if you have pictures in LoadProof and you're already using MyEasy Claim, you can automatically pull the pictures from LoadProof into MyEasy Claim and submit those pictures to the carrier along with your freight claim. Or if you're using MyEasy Claims and don't have pictures, you can set up an account with LoadProof and basically take it from there, right? Now because LoadProof and MyEasy Claim are integrated, so it's with the push of a button, you can pull the pictures from LoadProof to MyEasy Claim and submit your freight claims. I mean, pictures are very, very important, right? That makes getting compensated by the carrier easier because these shipments are insured. Often, when it's insured, the insurance companies come in and the first thing they ask for is proof, and pictures are the best proof. They just make the conversation go so much faster, right? And even if you take thousands of pictures, with LoadProof, it's very easy to generate PDFs and upload them. It's very, very easy to pass on those pictures to whoever it's needed, right? It could, this could get really complicated if you did not pay for transportation, which means you don't have contract with the carrier and cannot even talk to them. Typically, this happens when you ship to a retailer. A retailer will often take advantage of the economies of scale and get their own carrier, and carrier will come to you and pick up. In this case, if there's damage, you'll have to talk to their need. One of those big reasons, if you're a small supplier, the 3PLs can help as well, right? That's why one of the reasons why many people work with 3PLs. Right? What is a damage claim? Right? A damage claim is submitted by a customer to you when a product you ship did not arrive in a good condition, where the customer is doing extra work to get the product to work. This could potentially result in an automatic deduction in the invoice you submitted to your customer. Meaning, if you submit an invoice for $10,000, the customer is going to pay only $9,000 and quote the damage claim as the reason for the automatic deduction. That's where you can show pictures from LoadProof to demonstrate that you did your job correctly and it is not your fault, right? If it's a carrier's mistake, you can submit a freight claim to the carrier if you paid for the carrier, or if your customer paid for the carrier, then you can tell that to your customer and get your invoice fully paid. Right? What is a rejected load? Rejected load is an extreme case, but it happens with food items. But you're surprised to how often it happens in the food distribution business. Basically, the load was delivered in such a bad condition, right? The customer, the receiving end, just got so upset. They're completely rejecting the load because they cannot take it and fix it. They don't have the resources to take it and fix it. Right? Now you have to take it back, bring it to another place, either another nearby facility or bring it back to your own facility fix it, and ship it back. So now you spend extra on the transportation, both hauling it back and re-delivering, and also you spend on extra labor to fix it. Sometimes if it's so bad, you may have to replace the merchandise because you cannot reuse. I mean, especially if it's food products and that got spilled on the floor of the container, right? And if they think about it, if it's a perishable product, right, lettuce or cheese, so loss could be a lot. So having the pictures enable you to show that you did your job right. You can push back and say, hey, I'm not going to pay for this because it's not our fault, and you can have that a party that's responsible for the problem to pay for it, right? Different scenarios to take pictures of: outbound loading and shipping, inbound receiving, inbound damages, outbound trailer seals, if there is an FTL scenario, trailer conditions, trailer cleanliness, especially when shipping food products, right? And then even documents when shipping controlled substances, right? DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration license, Food and Drug Administration, approval. Sometimes even driver's licenses of drivers that are picking up the loads, right? Bills of lading, proof of delivery, partial manifest, GMBA Walk. I mean, if you have a really large DC and you want to, make sure that, people are working optimally, performing all these different functions, right? Picking, packing, loading, all that is done in an optimal fashion, right? So, GMBA is basically, go to that place and understand the process thoroughly instead of, sitting in the office and making superficial comments. Right? GMBA is a Japanese word meaning the actual place, right? In lean practices, the GMBA refers to the place where the value is created, such as the shop floor in manufacturing, right? The operating room in a hospital, the job site in a construction project, the kitchen of a restaurant, and the workstation of a software programmer. A popular approach in companies who implement lean principles is called GMBA Walks, right? Which denote the action of going to see the actual process, understand the work, ask questions, and learning from those who do the work, right? Showing respect to them. It's an opportunity for management and support staff to break away from their day-to-day tasks to walk the floor of their workplace to identify wasteful activities, right? The objective is to understand the value stream and its problems rather than review results to make superficial comments from their office or conference room. Building maintenance, tenants move in, move out. Maybe it's not applicable for you guys. That's more of a 3PL thing. Temporary storage locations. I mean, you could have, temporary locations. For example, I still remember I was talking to this 3PL manager. He said these guys delivered a $200,000 shipment and they completed delivery. They thought they've done their job well and they submitted their invoice. 3 months later, the customer came back and said, they never got the product and they were not going to pay the invoice. It turns out that after the 3PL had made their delivery, nobody from the customer side even looked at the product, and it was, a perishable product. So basically, it was ruined, right? And then trailer numbers, thermometer readings at the time of handoff from one party to another, right? This is more in the produce, food scenario. Proof of compliant loads, right? Packing, labeling, stacking, stretch wrapping. Using the, again, LTL versus FTL, you got to handle it differently. LTL, you got to have a lot more, a thicker gauge of stretch wrapping, whereas FTL, you don't need that. So benefits, obviously, there are a lot of cost savings, right? Overall, the process itself is simple, and you're avoiding all the manual process, and also retrieval is so much easier. Your labor is reduced, right? No need to manage all these photos. Show that the product was shipped outbound damage-free, no damages, right? Capture damages in the inbound product, prove that the correct quantity was shipped, no overages, no shortages, paper trail. So from a visibility perspective, anybody can log in and look at it, both within the organization and outside the organization for partners that you need to give access to. Significantly improved customer satisfaction, significantly improved relationships with customers because they trust you, right? With pictures and the transparency, they trust you and they believe, hey, these guys do a good job. And you're not eating the cost by yourself in order to not lose a customer, right? You can push back and say, hey guys, look at these pictures, right? We did our job right. A 95% customer compliant production, compliance, overage, shortage, and damage issues avoided, proof for damage claim, proof for shortage or no shortage, right? 75% cost reduction and labor spent on researching problems after they happen. So you don't have to sit there and with your team in meetings and figure out what happened, why it happened, how you're going to make sure it doesn't happen again, and all that time that is spent is not needed, right? So it just, and in a customer scenario, there is a lot of time that's spent on answering questions, right, back and forth. The customer might come back and ask, hey, what happened? I mean, that's even more critical in a 3PL scenario. But in your scenario, still you have to answer those customers, and there could be multiple calls or multiple emails that you have to send and provide detailed explanation in the emails and so forth. Here you don't have to do that. You just have to share the pictures, right? So additional customer results, customer satisfaction through self-service portal, that went up so much. DEA compliance, fine avoided, documentation, cost savings, that alone resulted in $20,000 cost savings. Trailer damage, fine reduction, that's another $5,000 savings. Compliance for international shipment, right? If you're shipping international, the cargo, right, containers that go international very often would bounce around and move so many times, and they would get damaged very frequently by the time they reach. So that's all that you can prove that it's not your mistake, right? 20% savings in freight claims. So you can watch the Greg Will's video and Chris Steele video. Basically, the first one is for global industrial, and second one is for DSW distribution. So yeah, I mean, it's been working really well for these distributors, and set up a demo, and we'll be happy to show you guys how it happens. So that's it for this vertical, and let us know if you have any questions or comments and observations, and see you in the next video.